Good morning. My presentation will be to tell you how we in Jordan have used data and monitoring of the justice system to create a case for the adoption of or at least the launch of a criminal defense legal aid system, because in Jordan we do not have any official legal aid system. I will start by just giving you, I have to, okay. I'll just start by giving you a very briefly of the situation in Jordan. When we started, when my organization, Justice Center for Legal Aid, started in 2008. The thing is that Jordanian constitution does not guarantee fair trial standards as a basic human rights. So that in itself is an issue, but the criminal procedures law does guarantee the right for an attorney, but only in cases that are punishable by execution or by life imprisonment. And the way that such right was protected was using the ex officio, which is direct appointment by the court. There was no legal system, there was no monitoring and evaluation, there was nobody was following up on what's the quality of the services that were rendered. There were no official institutions for legal aid, so there were no units or commissions or board of legal aid. The Bar Association did provide legal aid, but it was done on an ad hoc basis and it was not institutionalized. The civil society did provide legal aid services, but it was usually targeted towards specific categories such as women, juveniles, victims of torture. It was not targeted, it did not protect the right of access to justice or right to legal aid. When we started discussing this issue and the need to establish a fully fledged legal aid system that is state-funded, the government of Jordan and the Bar Association said, why? We don't need a legal aid system. We already have these articles in the law. We already have the Bar Association. There's no need. So we took it upon ourselves to really look at whether or not there is a need. With the funding of the Open Society Foundation, we started a study, a criminal justice system study. We reviewed almost 1,400 cases. Actually, there were more than 1,400, but some of them were, we removed them from the final outcome. So basically, we based our study on 1,350 closed cases in the criminal justice. They were representative of all courts in Jordan. A team of 10 lawyers reviewed those files, reviewed every document in the file. We were looking at detention orders, we were looking at representation in 3 main stages: the police station, the prosecution, and the trial. That was the first study to be done in Jordan. And the result was a little bit of a wake-up call for all of us as civil society, as well as the government, as well as the bar. I think we have the wrong one here, but it's okay. Well, our study showed that 67.9% were not represented in the trial. 7 out of 10 people did not have an attorney at the trial proceedings in criminal cases. 83% were not represented at the prosecution. And almost nobody was represented at the police station. 99.6% did not have a lawyer at the police station, which meant that even if you could afford an attorney, you are not allowed to have an attorney at the police station because the law did not say that you had that right. The law did not prohibit it, but the practice, which yesterday was discussed, prohibited it. They would not allow lawyers in the police stations. Even juveniles, 73% of juveniles did not have, they were not represented in the criminal justice system. On this slide, I'm just presenting that it was different a little bit from depending on the severity of the crime. So in grand felonies, it was a little bit better, but it was still a disaster. So only 25% were represented, while in misdemeanor, even severe misdemeanors that were punishable, that could be punished from 2 to 3 years, only 13% were represented. It's funny that in many systems, when they tell you that we do have legal aid for death penalty or for life imprisonment, we took a look at that, and in fact, only 3% of all cases that were, according to the law, should have a lawyer. Only 3% were appointed by the state. So almost 43% people hired their own lawyers, and in 50% of grand felonies court did not fit the criteria of life imprisonment. So basically, having 20 years imprisonment or 15 years imprisonment did not qualify you for a lawyer. So those people would go in severe felonies, would go unrepresented. So this is to present that 2 out of 10 people in our prosecution system were only represented. The others would go, and none of them probably had any legal education or knew our procedures. Another aspect that we looked at was detention, which was also disastrous. 72% of cases we had detention orders issued. So basically our prosecutors were using detention as if it's the rule, not the exception. And the average detention time was 108 days. Moreover, we found out that 38% were detained and then found not guilty, or the charges were dropped. And the average detention time for people who were found innocent was 97 days. So after spending 97 days in detention, they would be found not guilty. And our system does not acknowledge the right for compensation for illegal detention or arbitrary detention. I'm sorry. Another thing that we found out was that 20% almost of our overall people who were detained, 20% of them were detained for periods that were longer than their final judgments. So when we presented our stakeholders, the Minister of Justice, the Bar Association, with all those facts, and it was a very solid study. It was very credible, and we were very impartial about it. Well, that changed a little bit in their perception. The question was, oh, okay, we may need legal aid. But then it's not just about numbers. We continued with interviews with lawyers, with detainees, with prosecutors, with judges to find out what was the issue. Like, I could give you a couple of examples. Like one of the law says that you must give a person or notify a person of their right to an attorney. The way that that right was phrased was some of the prosecutors would tell them, so do you want a lawyer or do you want to cooperate with us? So like, of course, the defendant would go, no, of course I have nothing to hide. I don't want a lawyer, I trust you. So those issues could not have been obtained through numbers. And then finally, this was just the beginning, because then we had to put in advocacy campaigns, we had to create alliances, we would meet with everybody, explain it, even tell the public, when we told the people that 2 out of people go to the prosecutor unrepresented, or nobody has a lawyer at the police station, so that just clicked. It is not about the criminals, it's about me, my neighbor, or my sister. So now, I'm happy to tell you that today we have a meeting with the Ministry of Justice in Jordan, discussing amendments to the criminal procedures law, because we are changing. But now another journey has started. Now we have to do studies to convince the government that it's economical and it's feasible to do and provide legal aid. Thank you.